Now, lately, you've probably been hearing a lot about NFTs, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and it's probably gone right over your head. How is it secure? How does it work? And how is it all connected? I'm going to explain that to you right here, right now. Okay, so the first and scariest buzzword or piece of technology that you're going to need to learn here is the blockchain. It's the core behind Bitcoin, it's the core behind Ethereum, and it's the core behind NFTs. And it's basically just one big ledger. So a ledger, it's basically just something that keeps track of who owns what. And we already use it a lot in the world of finance in the form of banks. So the bank, if you want to think of it as a big ledger, what happens is, say Bob wants to buy a soda from John and it's going to charge him $2. So he swipes his debit card because he doesn't have any cash on him, and that sends a notification to the bank, which then cross-checks, all right, does Bob have $2? Then it cross-checks, okay, which bank am I sending it to? Who is John? Does John have the ability to receive $2? And once everything checks out, it sends that $2 to John, and that transaction is then recorded like every other transaction into one big thing, and that is what we call a ledger. Now, the blockchain is exactly how the name sounds. It's one big chain of blocks. And so each block, if you want to think of it, you can break it up into three parts. It has the data that's on the block, it has the hash of that block itself, and then the hash of the previous block. The data on the block is who owns what, right? This is the ledger part. The ledger is the data. So Bob has 3 Bitcoin, John has 4 Bitcoin. Now the second part, the hash, is like a digital thumbprint. Now if you were to see a block on the blockchain, it's the same thing. You would see hash, say 123, and you would see it would be like a snapshot of all the Bitcoin at that part of time. So the third part, which is the hash of the previous block, helps connect each block together. So in order to connect block 123 to block 456, on block 456, you have to have the fact that the block before it was 123 so that you can keep the chain in order. Now, the reason blockchains are so secure is because if someone were to change the information within that blockchain, say to give themselves more Bitcoin, right? That change will then trigger a change in the digital thumbprint. And a blockchain is hosted on a peer-to-peer network of computers, which means every computer within that network has a copy of the blockchain on it. And this change in one of these computers' copy of the blockchain is then cross-checked with the other computers that are on this blockchain. It'll then self-correct, and this is why it's so secure and it's very unhackable. Now, this may help you understand how a blockchain works and what makes it secure, but you also may now have even more questions. Where does this blockchain exist, and how are new Bitcoins created, or how was the first Bitcoin created? And for this, we need to connect it to the subject of cryptocurrency mining. In order to keep the blockchain going, millions of computers need to join this peer-to-peer network. There has to be a motivation for joining. The motivation to join is to get some freshly minted Bitcoin that has come out of the newest block in the blockchain. Whenever a new block is added, there's the data piece, as we went over earlier. While this can be the transaction records of Bob, Sally, and Josh, there's also an end piece, which is the new 6.25 Bitcoin released every 10 minutes on the Bitcoin blockchain. This new block needs its hash figured out. In order to find this hash, one has to do thousands upon thousands of math equations in order to find the correct key basically to unlock this hash. So when you join that network, you basically put your machine to work working to solve these equations. These equations use hash power often found in GPUs or ASIC miners. Every single miner connected to the network is working to solve the one equation for that one block in that 10-minute period. Once the solution is found, based on the amount of computing power put into finding this hash, you are rewarded a proportionate amount of Bitcoin. So let's just say, for simple, we have those 1 million computers, and 100,000 of those are owned by one person. They will get 1/10 of their share. Now, while you're finding this hash, the equations that you're doing is also verifying those transactions, so everything happens at the new time. So the minute that new block is added, the ledger is then extended, the transactions are completed, and the new Bitcoin is minted. This chain has gone on forever and ever, and hopefully based on this, you now understand how the blockchain works and how the Bitcoin is stored and kept track of within it. Finally, we'll be connecting this blockchain stuff to the newest and most exciting part of this technology, which is NFTs. While blockchains can be used for things like cryptocurrencies and transactions, people soon saw the advantage of having something that provides 100% security and 100% verified ownership by a peer-to-peer network that's decentralized. Now, there is something that is completely non-currency related that can also be put on the blockchain. If we go back to the data portion of the block, it can be whatever we want. It doesn't have to be currency. It can be any code or anything stored within this. And this comes to the invention of smart contracts, which are basically just small little programs that create something one of one. But since it's within the blockchain, it is now verified by everyone on that peer-to-peer network that there is only one and someone is the owner of that. Another term for this like smart contractization of something is tokenization. Now on the ledger, where it once said Bob has 2 Bitcoin, it now says John has 2 Bitcoin and token XYZ. And this token XYZ, if we zoom in, is a photo of this flag. And so it's just something, again, that can be traded. Since it is now tokenized on the ledger or the blockchain, if Bob wants to send John his 2 Bitcoin for John's token XYZ, it can now be swapped, recorded, verified, and whatever you do with that token XYZ is up to you, the user. The reason it's called non-fungible is because it's one of one. Fungible, if you just replace it with the word replaceable, it means the same thing, non-replaceable. And so you can kind of see how something has value when it is non-fungible. So this is basically what an NFT is. It's a smart contract. Within that smart contract could be a picture, such as the ones that you see going for millions of dollars, these monkeys or whatever. Or say you buy a house, you get a deed, or you're born and you get your birth certificate. This can then become a smart contract and be one of one. So where in real life, where your deed of your house can be copied, faked, can be stolen or lost, in a blockchain, if I all of a sudden see on the ledger, oh, you have your deed token or your birth certificate token, I know it's yours and it will forever be with you unless you trade it to someone. So this is the future, right? If you have everything digitalized, certified ownership to you, there's no more fakes, there's no more nothing of that, and we're constantly becoming a more digitalized world. If you ask, well, what's the true value if I can't hold it or touch it or whatever, that's probably the same discussion you could have about the dollar bill. What gives the dollar bill its value, right? It's the fact that people believe it has value. So I hope this helped you out. I hope this explained. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments. I'll try and do a personalized response, and hopefully this helped you a little bit understand the blockchain, NFTs, crypto, all that. Peace.